So my name is Amit Siddhartha, and I am the founder and CEO at MetaPercept Technology Services, which is based in India, and we are associated with uh, Oxygen team from past, I think, 12 years. We have been uh, trying to recommend Oxygen to our customers, and we have been pushing many customers to move to DITA instead of DocBook or LaTeX or Microsoft Word. And this is one of the use cases or business cases I'll be talking about, the lessons learned. And we are also into training services. And I'll just move to the next slide. So this project is about one of the IT hardware company, and they were into manufacturing semiconductors, then circuit boards, etc. And none of the technical writers knew anything about DITA, but they were working in DITA from past 7 years. Imagine the situation, because they were only updating part numbers in the document. So they did not know that they are actually working in DITA. And when the management started feeling the pinch, the budget pinch, that the CCMS they were using was very expensive because it was an in-house CCMS, they wanted to migrate to another CCMS, and the other CCMS wanted to was supporting the latest version of DITA-OT and the plugins, which would be working seamlessly with that. So now there is a team that did not have any idea of what they are going through, what would be the journey. And as a consultant here, we found many blockers, and so I'll be talking about that. So we went with a pre-migration assessment for the DITA-OT and the plugins, and we evaluated the existing DITA-OT environment, how things were working. There were certain pre-processors that were being used, and then there were some scoping of the entire migration task. So the customer thought that, okay, this entire task can be done within 3 months to 4 months, whereas we gave them the realistic update that, okay, this entire task would take around 8 to 9 months if they wanted to migrate to a higher version of DITA-OT and make it compatible for their entire doc set. So we came up with a lot of surprises from the customer side. And what were the surprises? First, the plugin numbers that was given to us to migrate was 17. We did the assessment on that, 17 plugins to migrate. Then after we reached halfway through the project, we got to know there are 5 more plugins, and that were for publishing marketing documents. So our first question was, who are the authors going to write these marketing documents? Are these the technical writers who will be dealing with the technical documents, or is the marketing team? They said, we don't know. So then we had to connect with the marketing team folks, and we got to know that they did not have any idea because they were using Adobe InDesign. So we thought of keeping things separate, the marketing things separate from the DITA based authoring mechanism. And then everyone in the management side, the customer management side, was in a hurry because they wanted things to be done yesterday. All right, this is how it is. So we went with a comprehensive migration plan. We did a very thorough preparation. We made the complete roadmap, and we created a detailed migration plan, assessed, analyzed, and tested each and every plugins, that how the output is going to come through. And then we also had a risk management plan in place, so that if anything goes wrong, if none of these or any of these plugins do not work, what is the backup we have? How are we going to manage this entire project? So we were ready from each and every perspective. Then we started with the architecture analysis of all these plugins. We started fixing the element types, which were whatever was referring to a certain content type. And then we also did metadata validation. So they were handling the metadata through different mechanisms. So they had a separate file for metadata, which was generated through their previous CCMS they were using. Then we did the testing and validation of the entire system. We developed the plugins. We made it work with the upgraded version of DITA-OT, and everything was working fine. Then the customer again comes and says, okay, we are going to hire someone technical from our side who is going to do a UAT, user acceptance testing, and we are going to compare an apple to an apple. All right, which is not the case in DITA if you migrate from a lower version to the higher version, because there is a file structure changes, then there are many changes there. And this guy was the one who joined the customer team, came from a testing background. So what this person would do, run diff on the previous set and the new set, and then create a report based on that and send it to the management that, okay, everything is different. I don't know why they are doing this. They have goofed up the entire project. This is not what it is looking. So this kind of feedback we started getting. So then we realized that it is education issue. The customer does not know the journey of DITA, and so we had to take a decision. Okay, hold this project. Let's first discuss with the customer. And when we discussed with the customer, they said, okay, why you have this different structure? We have got it in report. So I asked them, do you know what exactly it does? How this input is getting in the DITA-OT, it is getting processed and output is getting generated? No, we do not have any idea, but this file is looking different. I said, fine. So then we also deployed the updated DITA-OT, like the later version of the DITA-OT and the plugins in the customer premises. We made it work. We showed them, okay, this is how. Everything is working fine for you. You are getting the desired results. You should only be worried about how the results are coming. But then the QA guy was a bit adamant on that part, on his part, that okay, sources are looking different. All right. So, and this QA guy was actually one of the, you can say, a person within that senior management level who has been a very techie person who would only talk about techie stuff with the other folks. So what went wrong here was not checking the compatibility issues with the previous environment that they had and the new environment to which they were migrating. So we explained them that this one size fits all will not work for you. So if you think, if you are using this 1.7 DITA-OT and the plugins from that version and moving to 3.5 or 3.7, it will work for you? No. So you have to go with some customizations. And then Oxygen documentation came to our help. We showed them that they see these are the file structure changes, these are the things, and it is not us who is doing it, it's the DITA. This is how it is made. That is how they started getting convinced. All right. Then came the plugin compatibility. So we can see that there are more than 22 plugins and extensions used in the existing version, and we reduced it to 11 because for each and every settings they had a different plugin. So in one output they were getting a table which was a wide table in a page wide scenario, and then there was the other document in which they had a narrow table, and for that, they created 2 different plugins. All right. So, As a data consultant, we have seen a lot of such issues in the market, and then there was learning curve that was needed for this entire team, because as I said, the authors did not know what to do in data. So we had to train them, and not just the technical writers, but we had to train the management team as well, because management team was not ready to take that entire stuff, that okay, why these things have changed. So when we are talking about data, we are not just talking from the authoring perspective. It's the complete environment change in the organization. It's like uh, you're adopting something new within the organization, and everyone has to accept that. It's not just the technical writers, and this gap is something that has been extending, or is expanding from past 10 years, which I have seen in the market, because of the doc as code approach, markdown, and many other things. So, and docbook, so that is also XML. This so docbook is like going with backward compatibility in some cases, whereas with data we are moving towards the latest version. So it's really hard to convince the customers. So as a data community, what are we doing is really important for us, uh, to educate customers, right, or contribute more towards DITA-OT forum, and ask the right set of questions, show the ROI to the management, and then content format challenges were there. So they had one set of content in which they already had data, and then a new set which was in markdown, and they wanted that markdown content also in data. So we had to specially build kind of utility toolkit, which mapped all the markdown syntaxes. Against that, we mapped the data syntaxes and migrated content. So definitely there was a lot of manual work involved in that, but we achieved it. So lessons learned, uh, communication and stakeholder engagement. This is something which I have seen missing in many organizations who are looking forward to move to data or adapt data. And management is more concerned about budget. Technical documentation manager are, okay, we need to have data. Technical writers, we don't know what is data. And then information architects come, they say, okay, we can do everything what you want. And everyone is clueless about that, what information architects are doing. So we have very lesser number of information architects now compared to what we had 10 years ago. So this is where we need to create more awareness. Then planning phase is something where we plan for 6 months of entire delivery timeline for this migration task, but then it went to 11 months, just because new challenges kept coming to us. And then testing and validation. So earlier we were not involved in testing before we started migrating to latest version. We did not see what previous CCMS they were using, what was the DITA-OT version, how the plugins were developed. We just took the plugins and we started developing based on the plugins supported in DITA 3.7.5, and we started working in the same direction, and that is where few things got goofed up. And then there was the documentation and knowledge sharing. So as I said, I refer to Oxygen documentation and DITA-OT documentation. That helped me prepare a lot of slides for the customer to educate them, and also prepare guidelines, best practices and guidelines, not just for the authors, but also for the uh, management, that what you need to expect, or what you must expect when you are moving to data. So these are the changes that you will see happening, and these are the lessons learned, and that's it. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me.
So with the the markdown content, was this manual conversion or automated conversion?
It was automated conversion. So I would say 70% automated and 30% manual cleanup task post conversion, because then the output was getting generated on a specific hosting server, and we were the ones who kind of customized their output look and feel using Next.js framework. So the output was entirely in using the Next.js framework. So how exactly it would render the markdown content into DITA and then from DITA to HTML. Yeah. More questions? Okay, thank you.